Welcome to The Prize Inside, your favorite source for exploring the human potential through the stories of ordinary people achieving the extraordinary. These aren't just people exceeding physical limits. They're doing the impossible, and they aren't done yet. Are you ready to exceed your potential? Then join in now with your hosts, chiropractors Rochelle and Jeremy Myers and massage therapist Bunny.
Welcome, everyone, to The Prize Inside, where we learn about ordinary people doing extraordinary things. The Prize Inside is brought to you by MyPeakDirect.com. MyPeakDirect.com is an online store that holistic doctors have deemed the products exceptional. Ever have a difficult time knowing the best supplement to take? Maybe you've heard a suggestion and are not sure what is a good high-quality brand. MyPeak Direct is an online store that not only sells top-quality holistic supplies from top-rated companies, but everything they suggest, holistic doctors have deemed great. MyPeak does not recommend anything that its doctors have not even tried or have not tried firsthand. So check out www.mypeakdirect.com. Dr. Rachel Myers and Amy Segerman offer 4 components to support you as you begin your journey toward lifelong transformation, one healthy habit at a time. Your coach will be with you every step of the way. Studies show that having a support system can help you get better results. It's why each client gets paired with a coach to guide them on the path to optimal health and well-being. Their coaches are there to empower and encourage you in real time. They know the journey you're about to embark on because they themselves have been on that same journey. So call 269-964-1441 and ask for Dr. Rachel or Amy to get started today. All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Prize Inside, where ordinary people do extraordinary things, and we explore that. Today is for me, it's May 9th, 2021. We are releasing Chiropractic Principle number 12 in our road to the 33 Chiropractic Principles. Today's kind of a fun one, so we'll kind of go through a little bit. If you've been with me before, you'll know about a few different things. We'll talk about those real quick. But what I'd like to do first is understand where we're at. So we are talking, chiropractic principle is all about intelligence, force, and matter. So intelligence, energy, and matter. When all of those intermingle perfectly, then you have perfect life. Okay. So when we go through this, that was, in a summary, that's what we go over with the first 11 principles with a few pieces in there. If you haven't listened to those, go back. Each one we kind of break down in more detail. But today we're talking about number 12. Chiropractic principle number 12 is this: interference with transmission of universal forces. There can be interference with transmission of universal forces. That's it. That's the whole principle. So it seems simple at first. However, once we start breaking that down based on our old concept, and as you've been following this, universal forces are what? Universal forces are gravity. They're the laws of physics, essentially, on what we live in the universe. What are the laws that we live by to live, basically? Our innate intelligence, our innate forces cooperate with these universal forces, and that gives us our abilities to do things. I always use the skeleton and the muscles of our body with the ligaments to combat gravity, right? So if we didn't have gravity as a universal force, then we wouldn't need bones and muscles. We could be little blobs walking around, that kind of thing. But what happens is a lot of times we have to look at it and break it down into these different aspects. So what does this mean? There can be interference with transmission of universal forces. how I look at this is you have the universal forces are hitting your body. So let's say in your head, kind of visualize wind. So there's a big gust of wind, 50-mile-an-hour winds hitting you. So you have this wind force that's a universal force, and you are able to overpower that wind to walk forward. So let's say you're going to a restaurant, the wind's howling at about 50 miles an hour, and you take that on, right? So you're starting to walk through that wind. Well, what allows you to do that? Your musculoskeletal system again. So what happens is like you are fighting, you're using more energy of your legs, your muscles of your upper body. You might even have a slight lean into that wind to get you where you want to go. So with that, you can have what I call, what they mean in this principle is the interference between how the universal force is cooperating with your innate intelligence or your innate forces. We see this every day, but we don't know that. So what I interlude this one to is biomechanics. So biomechanics of the human body, especially when we're looking at gravity and those type of forces, if there is interference with the transmission of that force, gravity, through the body, you have an interference that doesn't allow your innate intelligence to function correctly. So this is where chiropractic comes in, and a few other things that we'll talk about today, that you can really see the difference. So what I'd like to do is start with, why is there what did they call a minimalist running shoe? What is that about? Some of you know. If you start training your body to biomechanically run in the style of like with bare feet, mechanically, what does that do? And I've seen this in my office before. I had a guy that did a 100-mile barefoot ultra run, which is crazy to me, but he did it and it was pretty successful. And, I asked, like, why did he do that? Well, and this will come together in this principle. So one of the things he kept saying was he loved to run. And as he was running, he'd start having knee problems, low back, shoulder issues, all these things started perpetuating until he learned about barefoot running. Barefoot running, he could by himself with not chiropractic before this. He was just kind of running and trying to figure out, why do I hurt all the time? Is this something I'm going to be able to do? Can I run like this? And he found a group, and like a lot of people do, they find a YouTube expert. This guy was pretty awesome. He was a physical therapist, PhD. And he explained all the different mechanics of how your foot hits the ground. And as he's explaining that, you can see the different muscles that have to fire. Well, what was happening was the running shoes he was choosing made different muscles fire as they're running. Well, what does that mean? That means that the transmission of this gravity as he's running through his body, his innate intelligence, were mechanically off. So he decided to try the barefoot running style. And to his surprise, once his feet got trained in that style of running, the knee pain goes away. The hip pain goes away. The shoulder was going away. And the reason is because his mechanics were correct and his innate forces were able to transmit to that universal force or cooperate better than they did before. So a lot of times you'll see people talk about this in, barefoot running, and half of us will go, you're crazy, right? But when you go up to those different levels, of this running style and those kind of things, what happens is you start to understand like how those different things go. So And many times, if we can start training our body in how to take on these universal forces. So an ache or a pain occurs in a certain situation. Let's say it's walking or, doing these type of things. Let's say you have a knee pain and you're a 12-hour a day factory worker, right? So you have this knee pain. Well, why doesn't the other knee hurt? Number one, that should always get you. But what are we doing? Well, we have in our life, in that situation of a 12-hour factory, let's say the floor is made of cement, which is a man-made thing, because usually we would be out in the woods, in the grass and the dirt, and it has more give, right? So you have that. And then let's say you have a steel-toed shoe. So a steel-toed boot doesn't allow your foot to move correctly, which drives me crazy, but it doesn't allow your foot. As you're listening to this, think about that. Your big toe kind of has to initialize the lift of your foot. So a lot of times your big toe is your guide. Well, if you have a steel-toed boot, it stops it from moving up because of the safety thing, and you actually start to walk different on that cement, which then leads to other major transmissions of this gravity throughout. So now we're pounding on cement that's harder than natural earth. You have this foot, this shoe, that is counteracting the natural gait or the natural walking cycle of a human. And therefore, you start getting a lot of these problems. Is any of that stuff something you would have thought of? Probably not. You'd think, oh man, it's just life and all my joints just fall apart. And that's what most people go to. Well, if we're going to change, like as the rest of these podcasts go, if we're going to change our genetics, we need to understand that we have the ability to change what these old bones, so to speak, are doing. So I've seen it. I've witnessed it myself. You can stop or slow, or sometimes I've seen this in rare occasions, but reverse some of the joint problems that you're having in the sense of arthritis and those kind of things. So these are things that if our body is able to do it through cooperating with these universal forces, then you start having a different scenario. Right now, one of the ones that gets us is gravity. We'll go to a different one. So our 1% improvement this week will be, how do you feel on a walk? Is there pain to that walk? What can you do? Did you even have somebody videotape how you walk, from behind, so they don't, when you don't see it? A lot of my great running stores will have like a treadmill of some sort, and then a video camera. Treadmill's not ideal because it makes your feet work different. I'd rather see somebody get videotaped while they're running on like the road. However, that's pretty good. So you can actually watch somebody's gait and how do you fix that? You can do a lot on your own with just learning how to do it, learning how to run. For me, I scare most things off the road because I pound so hard when I run. And I'm getting better. I used to just pound that earth, so put the craters in the ground. I'm really good. It's like watching a rhino run. It's kind of like that. But as we go, as I learn to what the gait mechanic looks like, what it should look like, there's plenty of videos out there. So if you can kind of visualize this for a second, I'll try to do it in a podcast. But so when we walk, our big toe should initiate. So it should raise up our foot. Our heel should hit slightly, and then it should kind of rock to the outside of your foot, roll across all your toes, and then push off your big toe. So, and that's kind of how the motion is. It's like a C formation, kind of a nice flow to your foot. And if you can kind of feel that as you're walking, am I doing that? Or am I going straight from, I hit my heel and then the next thing that I feel is my toe, my big toe? Then you probably aren't doing that correctly. You almost want to lay that foot down as if it's hitting on the side and then push up. So there's a lot of great mechanics, a lot of great exercises out there for that. But learning how to do these things is super critical, because if your feet mechanically are great, then that means all of it translates up to your knees, your hips, your back, all of those things. So my great runners, my great walkers, they don't have a lot of knee back pain once they've learned the good way to go. It's the people that are kind of novice to it, want to start something, have some mechanical error, biomechanical error, and then it screws them up. And then that's where you start getting those things, or we never fix that. And so what that leads to is that our transmission of this universal force gravity isn't going through our innate forces or our innate intelligence correctly, thereby leading to problems, as you go forward. So it's really important to look at that. Another one that we're seeing a ton of now is we have gravity around us all the time. So when we sit for the night or watch TV or do those kind of things, and we check out our phone and we're looking down, we take basically our skull is the same size as a bowling ball and kind of about the same weight. So you're taking a bowling ball and setting it almost into your chest. Well, that's just we start having this thing called forward head posture. And if we're not able to do good forward head or good head posture, like especially sitting, it leads to upper neck and back problems that we go, oh, that really starts bothering you. And then things start irritating. Had a coach I had to fix this weekend because his upper neck was so bad, and it started shooting neurology down his arms or his arms. And so that is a problem that, because this forward head posture, when he went to swing a bat, it was just making it worse and worse because the mechanics are getting him into that forward head posture. So those are some things that you can think about. How are you sitting? How are you enjoying your night? Reading, or all those things. Is there a way you can, get that forward head posture in a better position? Because that sitting part is going to be part of our life. So how do we do that? Dr. Matt, who's in my office, had this wonderful thing. Didn't even think about it when kids are on computers and iPhones and all that stuff. So when they get technology time, make them lay on their stomach, because that way it forces their head posture to come back, and they're able to do that a little easier than adults can. So that's one way to help correct that posture. But then as they're going into running or that gravity, you don't get those neck issues that are constant right now, especially with all the at-home work everybody's been doing. So those are my 1% improvements this week. Go out for a walk, see how your feet hit the ground. See if you can learn how the gait mechanism works. Maybe YouTube gait analysis, and then see what that looks like. Watch a few people walk. Get somebody to video your walking style, and then see if you can't help self-correct it. Sometimes you can't, and that's where chiropractic comes in, and they can help you along. But sometimes you can, and sometimes you can do that much better. And so, and then try to figure out your ergonomics as you're sitting at night. That will be a really, really good thing. So I appreciate you guys listening, and talk to you soon.
Don't think for a second that this episode has reached its full potential, because we have plenty more for you on myers-chiropractic.com. Be sure to like us on Facebook and subscribe to the show on your preferred podcast listening service so you don't miss a minute of real stories, real people, and real results. We look forward to exploring the human potential with you next time, right here on The Prize Inside.